共に踊ればつながる縁この世は楽園悩みなんざ吹っ飛ばせ笑え笑え
太郎あれはないきっとない
Sadly, Haruka, that is in fact Momotaro. Welcome everybody to Avatar Sentai Donbrothers.
Yo!
So yeah, new year, new Sentai, and definitely an interesting experiment considering it is just a straight up sequel to Zenkaiger. They ain't even holding back. We even see Zenkaiser in the very first episode summoning the mecha. Anyway, welcome to Donbrothers, and my first impressions video. I haven't done one of these, I think, ever, but I thought this would be a fun little project to sort of talk about the series, talk about my impressions, and talk about how I would have improved it. So let's start off with the basics. Let's start off with the very first point of note. We have the introduction to our premise, which is basically there's a digital world that exists alongside the real world, and you need special glasses you win in a phone-based roulette game or slot machine, which gives you special glasses which allow you to see the monsters of the real world, and then they know that you're seeing them, probably based upon your expression. So I guess if you had a good poker face, they wouldn't notice. And then the semi-sentient transformation gun forcefully transforms you into a ranger and then teleports you to where Oni are acting up so you can fight them. And here's where I think they made their first big misstep. Because if you're just teleporting your rangers around, then they're really not building any sort of camaraderie with each other. But we all know what's going to happen. They're all going to turn out to be in the same town, they're all going to meet up, and they're going to start building relationships with each other. But I think they missed a great opportunity because it's Avataro. It's Avatar. It's Game Sentai Donbrothers. And they could have done an international team. They could have gone back to their Jaka roots, their Battlefield J roots, and have a team of international rangers. Because if you're being teleported to where the action is, it don't matter where in the fucking world you are. And again, if you're doing the game thing, then you don't need them to be speaking Japanese. Now, yes, it's convenient for the audience, and we all know how terrible they do with English and whatnot, but follow me for a second. Imagine, if you would, that the avatars were spread across the world, and they were brought together to fight the Oni, and that's really when they only meet. Sort of essentially they're all queuing in a game lobby for Call of Duty or whatever, and they all get grouped together, basically essentially a pickup group, thrown into the fight with the avatars, and they only can build relationships if they actually go into the digital world and gain some control over their powers. But it was also allow you to do some fun stuff, like, for example, you could have the character just doesn't speak English, and they're literally reading the subtitles that are in Japanese or in English, whatever. They're reading the subtitles. Each character, like the Japanese characters are reading Japanese subtitles when the French person speaks, and the French person is reading French subtitles. And we had one of them mention, hold up, don't go so fast. I'm still reading the subtitles. Or I'm still reading the captions. That could have been a fun thing to do with your game theme. And again, if you're being teleported to where the action is, you don't need to limit the team to just the standard 5. Take a Q Ranger approach. Have a team of 12 spread across the entire globe. You could have 3 in Japan, another 3 in France, another 3 in America, another 3 in, say, China, and just like have, what would that be? If you want to do proper Q Ranger, which is, 12, you'd have, You have a few teams of 3 because you could also do teams of 5, teams of 2. But we'll go with something like what 4 teams. So we'd have red, blue, black, pink, green, orange, yellow, fuchsia. I don't know. You get the idea. So you have like different teams. Like maybe one team is 5 people large, one team is 3 people large, and generally speaking, they're just kind of all doing their own thing and their own little takes, and we can all kind of zoom in on that, and then come back together on the fight scenes, and then start building the characters from there. And like I said, you can deal with multilingualism. There's a lot of fun stuff you could do with the idea. Unfortunately, they're playing it safe. Despite the fact it's supposed to be an experimental Sentai being a literal sequel, they decided to play it safe by having them all be in Japan. They're all tied to the Journey to the West Momotaros legend, despite the fact that Onis were the enemy. So they could have really done some fun stuff with Oni's sister, like for example, have her be in a town that's just completely been taken over by the Oni. Like she's just a victim in a dystopian city, and the reason she becomes Oni's sister is because, well, that's already her town. She doesn't really have any other heroes. All her heroes have been replaced by Oni, and so to her, a hero is an Oni. And then you have her become Oni's sister. And then joining Momotaros and his gang because she realizes that her legends are kind of crappy. And then you have Momotaros. You're doing your journey to the west, so you've got Momotaros, you've got your monkey, you've got your pheasant, and you've got your dog. All right, so that's one fairy tale. And then you have another team that is, oh, I don't know, you could go do a story from another region. You could do an American story. You could do a French story. Like I said, going with the international theme, have different teams based upon local stories and legends from different regions. And of course, you'll have your Japanese focus as natural, and that's why, like I said, Oni's sister would be sort of an oddball. She would be essentially a Dark Ranger. She would be Stay Caesar, except she realized she was on the wrong side early on. And so she'd be this weird standout. Like I said, a lot of fun stuff you could do with the premise that they established, and yet they just didn't, or haven't yet. And from what I've been able to tell from leaks and whatnot, I don't think they're going to go with the creative route that I'm suggesting. But what did I think of the series as itself? Well, I liked it. I thought it had an interesting premise. I will admit that the slice of life stuff they started off with really didn't catch my interest. Like, oh, our Yellow Ranger is a manga artist who, because of influence from the Oni, is now suddenly unlucky and being considered a plagiarist. And yet, that only happened after she got the glasses, which makes me think that the glasses themselves screwed up her luck. But the mentor of the group is implying that if she wants her luck fixed, she has to defeat the Oni. So that's a little weird. Don Momotaro, our Red Ranger, who was the only other character we really got any focus on, is literally Momotaro. Like a character even makes a joke about it early on in the beginning of the episode in the cold open, where Momotaro, as a baby, appears through a portal in the sky, drops down into the Tokyo Bay in a literal peach-shaped baby crib, and he's like, "This is unreal," and he goes and names the guy Momotaro, literally Peach Boy. So, yeah, a little odd, but at least they acknowledge the oddness. And like I said, Oni's sister, there's nothing really tying her to Oni's, unfortunately, and we don't know much about the other characters yet. I mean, that would have been a fun twist if each character had some sort of really direct and obvious tie to the story of the Momotaro story. But not really. Like, Oni's sister's in a city full of monsters, but like they just established that the city full of monsters is just like everywhere. We don't really establish that as being like different. Just that the monsters are always hiding in plain sight. Like I said, They could have done so much more fun with that. Um, but that is my thoughts on Avatar Sentai um, Donbrothers. It's unusual. It's weird. It's fun. And I feel like they missed a shot. Now, that said, what am I going to do about it? Well, those of you who are on my Discord will know that we have a ton of RPs on our Discord. And no, I am not thinking of doing a Donbrothers RP. We got enough RPs as it is. I am not adverse to it if enough people suggest it. I have done that in the past. If people just suggested a bunch of things that I wasn't even thinking of doing, I'll do it. But just generally speaking, no. But I think what I will do is something that older fans of mine might well know me for: fan fiction or fan comics, because I'm doing a lot of fan comics and arts nowadays. And I might do my own take on Donbrothers as a fanfic / fan comic. Because I like the premise, I like the setup, and I like the story that they're establishing, but I feel they could have gone further. And I will go further. At least, that's my thoughts. And I want you to hear my thoughts and hear my impressions on Donbrothers. A interesting, if not daring, Sentai.